It's time. It's time for your local sports attention getter. It's 4 Deep Sports Talk. Come listen to the sports stars of tomorrow. You can call in at 508-222-1320 on WARA 1320 AM.
Me with every chair.
Yeah, you can,
so short.
You're going to stand,
Yeah.
right?
What?
You're going to stand?
I can.
What's
Yeah,
going on,
I told you.
everybody?
Yeah,
This is 4 Deep Sports Talk, coming to you live from North Attleboro, 1320 WAR. Yeah, unfortunately, I was caught off guard for a second. What's going on? I'm here with Dom Damiano, Justin Ferreira, Craig Salvador, and Lucy Cabral. Dom, what's going on, buddy? I was caught off guard. I was really
So everything looks good. You get the timer going. We're good. We're rocking and rolling.
and not paying attention to.
Don't worry, it's not as bad as last week. I started it prematurely. Didn't realize Lucy's intro came on, and I just introduced it and got cut off by Lucy. I was like, oops.
So everyone listening, today we have Bonnie Switzer. She is an IFBB professional bodybuilder. We are talking women's and high school girls conditioning today, and we're happy to be joined by. Why don't we have you guys introduce yourselves first? That's probably be better. I know Bonnie. What's your first name again? I'm sorry.
Joan.
Joan, take this.
Tracy.
Take
Yes,
that
I'm,
right like that.
I'm Bonnie's longtime client.
All right. Do you have you have your mic, right? So we're all set. We're ready to go. So Bonnie, why don't we do some history? Why don't we get everyone
Yes,
caught
sir.
up on your experience and how long you've been involved in fitness? And no, you don't need those. But if you want to listen, you can.
Oh.
All right. Make sure the mic's right near so you can adjust the audio. So when Joan, when you answer a question, if you could just bring it right over, or if you have a comment. All right. So let's talk about how long you've been involved in conditioning and bodybuilding and stuff like that. As far as how long have you been doing it?
I've been in this industry for a good 25 years. Just kind of started learning myself. I was in the aerobics era, the 80s. Again, I was an athlete all during school, and I was kind of a small girl. Didn't like being small. Worked for a woman in aerobic studio and kind of got into weight training doing that. She lifted, and I was very interested in it, just very on a small scale. And really just kind of went from there, kept training and learning, and ended up getting into the fitness industry. I actually was going to go to school to be a physical fitness instructor, and I kind of went another way. I had my daughter a little early in life, and then my path kind of went a different way, but ended up being in the fitness industry, and my journey has just taken me to owning my own business now, and really working with multiple areas in fitness, and it's been great.
Okay, now Joan, you actually she actually trained with her, correct?
Yeah, I've been training with Bonnie since 2007, and she's seen me all different sizes and shapes. But I'm also I'm certified a personal trainer, and she's actually everything I know is from Bonnie, how to train people and how to do everything correctly, and she's just oozing with enthusiasm that I just caught on with her.
Great.
And that, so.
Now, how long you been training again? I'm sorry. How long
I've
you
been training with Bonnie as a client since
Yeah.
2007. Though back in the 80s, I was a aerobic instructor and did that until I got a job with the phone company, which basically I was sitting down a lot. So my aerobic body became a potato body, but I got that. I would never lift up weights before. It was all aerobic step, and then I met Bonnie, and she got me in love with actually doing weight resistance.
So Bonnie, tell us a little bit about, tell us a lot about Body Metrix. What is that all about? The Body Metrix is something that I looked into probably 3-4 years ago. Having a lot of clients ask me for body fat testing, there's many avenues you can go and get that done, and a lot of people just do what are called the calipers. Calipers are very difficult to do on a regular client or someone that is very heavy, because you have to sort of pinch them. You have to pinch the skin, and the technique is kind of evasive. You get bruised. In fact, Joan Marie got bruised multiple times when we did that back in the day. But I wanted something a little more accurate. So I was looking around, and I found the Body Metrix through a fella that worked out of like the University of Arizona. And so I Skyped with him for quite some time and kind of learned it. And I was really impressed. It's an amazing composition for measuring body fat, muscle mass, hydration. It will separate your excessive fat to your healthy fat. It gives diabetes, stroke, and heart attack. It kind of will give you your percentage of those, if you're at risk. It kind of tells your activity levels in the daily process of you just kind of going about your day, and it really breaks it down. And then I can email it to my clients. They can have a copy of it, and I can store it in my computer.
Well, that's pretty intense, right?
It just sounds like
It's used by all professional sports teams.
That's the cheerleader in the background. That's Robert Cutts, 5-time bench press world champion.
Actually more accurate than the height, weight, the BMI.
Oh,
thing
much
where
more.
They tell you, oh, you're
Well, it just sounds
50%
like
fat.
an overgrown Fitbit. You know what I mean?
It's just really detailed. And again, we think it's really important for multiple uses. I mean, I want people to look at the testing as far as the muscle mass to body fat ratio. And a lot of people exceed the body fat over the muscle ratio. And, we want the muscle to be greater than. Also, like I said, we feel for athletes and kids in school, if they're going to colleges, because the colleges really look at this testing, and it will show just the conditioning and where that student is when they go to apply for school. And it's a great test to include, in their resumes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
So my other question, this is something you can also apply to the high school and college athletes, correct? Most likely.
Absolutely. Anyone at any age can do this test. Another good thing about the test is certain impedance tests will, the caffeine and then the workout, things will interfere with this test.
Yep.
On the Body Metrix, it doesn't matter what time of day, what you've done, you can test and it will still be accurate.
Now, would it be different, because we cover a lot of sports, and I don't know if you'd know this better than, any of us here. Would this be different for a kid or a girl or whoever, or a boy for that matter, playing a certain sport as far as tolerance? Like, sometimes they have to, how they do the conditioning, and there's a lot of running involved. Would it vary on any other sport, from basketball, hockey, or anything, to apply this to their routine to become a better athlete?
Well, what it does, again, is it individualizes the person's conditioning and their body composition. So, yes, I would say in a more aggressive sport, or if the sport entailed, like soccer, I have some Brazilian kids that I train. One kid just went to, he got, I don't know exactly what division it was in Boston. He's not in college, but he's on a semi-pro team. For somebody like that does a lot of running up and down, yeah, I mean, their conditioning has to be maybe in a better, how would I say it? Like their body would have to be a little more conditioned for that sport than, say, a volleyball player.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but the Body Metrix only shows the individual's, composition. And if they weren't hydrated correctly, if they're, again, the muscle mass has to exceed the body fat. And a lot of my testing through the years that I've had this, it's just the opposite. So people need to, it would show you if you needed a little more resistance as far as your training, a little more hydration. Like you said, cardiovascular conditioning, it would show you that you'd have to improve on that. So it's every aspect of just having a healthy body.
There you go. If you want to call in 508 888-222-1320. This actually turned into not just women's conditioning like I was originally putting on Facebook, which doesn't matter who you are, what age you are. Depends on your determination if you want to get basically in some sort of shape.
Right. It's really an eye opener, I believe, when people get this test. So, it just helps you to improve,
Yeah.
As just a female, a male, a student. I mean, it's really all of the above.
Yeah. Now, how did this work out for you, John? How did you, when you first started, how did this change you? I know you said you were different shapes and sizes and all that. I thought that.
Right. How does it change me? I think the most important is if you see somebody that's lost a lot of weight, and they don't and they lose this weight by say running, but no weight resistance whatsoever. They actually look like they're wearing a skin suit. It's not like a deflated balloon. And with me, because I was training the whole time, losing weight, my skin actually just went down, and no sagging, no extra skin.
Because you were training at the same time.
Training at the same weight resisting and cardio. As far as the Body Metrix, Bonnie actually did that on me, and I was fascinated not only on the data that it gave me, but it gave me visual too.
Yeah.
And it actually showed the muscle and the fat and the deep fat and the white fat, and it's very, very informative.
Very good. All right. So we have, how much time? 40 seconds? Don't eat that mic, kid.
Yeah. As far as on the computer, it says 27 seconds, but on my timer, it says 20.
All right, so we'll get ready to step away. You are listening to 4 Deep Sports Talk here on the news station, 1320 AM WARA. We are podcasting live and, of course, live on the radio. We are setting up the stream for next weekend, but this video with all everybody in studio will be just, it's almost like it's ready. Poor Robert Cutts went through the same thing. We'll be back with more right after this. Hey everybody, welcome back. You are listening to 4 Deep Sports Talk here on the news station, 1320 AM WARA, and online, all one word, 4deepsportstalk.com. We're talking, originally I was going to say women's conditioning and training. It's actually, there is no limits. I guess it could be guys, like you said, and I'm glad I got educated. I mean, I was what I was thinking, but you guys had such a great conversation off air. And I'm saying to myself, this is all good, right? I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking I'm at Dunkin' Donuts, and, like you crosstalk, and you're talking about great stuff. You guys are talking about great stuff. So what I'd like to do is I'm hearing Lucy, who I've heard for over 5 years, and I'm hearing you over here, Bonnie and Tracy. I'd like to go over that again, what you mentioned, what Lucy mentioned earlier, if we could get that information out again, because I'm like, wow, that's really cool stuff. And it's kind of like we didn't get, we're breaking the ice here, touching about this, and people getting to know you guys. But can we go over that again? I don't know where you left off, but I caught the...
Well, I wanted to know what the difference between, they're new terms, like I haven't heard of weight training or weight resistance, and what is that? To the average person out there,
It's the same, isn't it, Bonnie?
is it one and the same?
It is in a sense of really weight bearing, weight training, weight resistance, bodybuilding, sculpting. It's all relative to one thing as far as we're all doing some kind of weighted movement. It's a weighted movement, a band movement, a body weighted movement. They're all with resistance. What happens when it changes for people is just your progression in how you start to get stronger, or how your body progresses into a different level. When I do my business and I have multiple clients of, multiple areas in life and ages, everyone, I call it climbing the ladder. How, what is your progression to climb the ladder, so to speak? But people do resistance in all different ways. But yes, collectively, I would say that it's all kind of part of the same thing.
Okay, so if I was a new person coming into this, and hey, I met Bonnie, tell me more about this. How do I get into this program? What is this all about?
As far as the weight part of it, I would assess you. I would take you into the gym. I would probably have you do some different movements in a lot of different ways, just to see, because I would not know what your strength is. I wouldn't know where you are. I would talk about, if you've had any injuries, if you've had surgeries. So I would get to kind of know maybe certain things that I might not be able to do with you. If
And
you had
healthy
problems.
elements as well, diabetes,
Absolutely.
health
all
conditions.
The conditionings. I get kind of personal with people. Sometimes I have to know medications,
Right.
different things, because it's important, because it does affect you when you're doing resistance work. But I would kind of take you through the whole assessment, and we would get on the floor, and I would just sort of start to ease you into movements. I would even see how structurally you move, what your coordination is, because coordination has a lot to do with different things. But you get better as you go. And some people start off very slow, and other people progress a little bit faster, just depending on maybe their backgrounds too.
But it's all good. I mean, some of her clients, we've trained together, and they're like, well, I can't lift as much as you can, and that isn't the goal.
Right,
The
right.
goal is to be able to be healthy and to be able to lift, so when you're 80, 90, you can go up the stairs, you can get out of a seat on your own.
You
and
still
that's-
have that
It's
flexibility,
the end
yeah,
game,
yeah.
really. It's not really how much you can lift, unless you're gonna go training at a show, or
Right.
you're gonna
Right.
do something.
It's very, very interesting, especially if you're going to hit the kids that are going into college, that are making a career out of any sport, knowing their strengths, weaknesses within their body, trying to be in the best overall condition,
Yeah,
to further their careers. So, yeah, I just think it's really, really interesting how to progress.
Yeah, I have 2 children right now that their ages 12 and 13. They're junior high kids, and one of the girls trains with her mother, but the other girl, I train the family, but I also train her. She does tennis, and it's basically just, like you said, getting these kids, first of all, to know their bodies. They're still growing, so you have to be careful of the weight-bearing movements that they do. But I say to these parents, the kids need to learn mechanics. They need to learn functional, movements. They need to just sort of, again, body mechanics and learning how their body moves, because a lot of these kids are kind of awkward. They have long legs, long arms, or short, or whatever the size of them. But what it does also, not only does it help their body function and strength, but it gives them confidence and self-esteem. I'll tell you a little story quick. The girl that I train, she plays tennis, and her instructor took them up to the gym floor. And everyone is kind of familiar with the ropes. There's this exercise that you take ropes and you do different agility moves with them. And I've been doing that with her. The kids in her group didn't even know how to do it. And she was kind of the star of the show, so to speak, that day. But when she came in to tell me, her smile and just her self-esteem, kind of being the best kid in the room,
Right.
really just put her on a whole different level. And again, it's kind of really neat to see that with the kids, because again, just their whole attitude and sort of self-worth is, lifted. And a lot of it's that too, just the confidence that you give them.
No, I think that's awesome, especially for the kids, 'cause they need that, especially that age. You know, it's that whole
Broken bones, too. I mean, if
self-esteem,
they-
health-wise. Absolutely. Cool.
But yeah, cardio seems to take over everything, and the weight resistance kind of is put in the back, and it should be both.
Right.
And if you start them at a young age.
I'm taking over your job, as you can tell.
Dom adding photographer to his list of
That's it.
skills.
I hope it's all focused. Well, we have to get ready. We have to get ready for the video side of the show. So, well, that was awesome. The different points you guys mentioned, but could you break it down maybe even more as far as how it works with different? You mentioned about how you had the junior high kids, but the junior high kids had different frames they were blessed with as far as what you have to work with. What about like the ages? When this is more towards Body Matrix, but as far as when should someone start? Like just something like as simple as stretching out. Like people don't pay attention. Like the older you get, you need to stretch out and stuff like that. And I mean, when does that usually come into that? What you've seen through the years, as far as the age-wise, is it more like 47 to you better stop stretching out. Your body's gonna get tighter if you don't work out. If you do work, you know what I mean? Like your ordinary gym person. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, generally, again, it varies. With the years that I've done this and my clients, sometimes flexibility can be sort of a hereditary thing where you almost have what's called a hypermobile. And a lot of times the kids can be really hypermobile, and a lot of times it just means that the joint areas are very flexible. I do have adults that are that way as well. A lot of times children grow out of that as they get older. But you still have to be careful as far as even stretching with some people, because they can actually overextend, their joints and their
Actually pull something.
Exactly. But I will probably say, on a general basis, the older people start to get a lot less flexible. So it is sort of a age thing, if you want to say.
Right.
But every single person that I work with, they have to do multiple stretches within the workout.
Yep.
Now, I know people have said to me, well, isn't stretching bad when you train? I'm not saying we're sitting there for, 5 minutes, 10
Right.
minutes stretching. We're doing key stretches that I feel are very important for shoulder joints, for, stretching the pectorals, stretching the hamstrings for the lower back, even calves. People forget about the calves. And another area is the forearm.
Yeah.
Certain areas are very important for people to keep flexible, but they have to do it. If they come to me, it's part of their training.
Yeah.
I've suggested people go to yoga. I think yoga, if the instructor is, certified and knows what he or she is doing, yoga is a great thing to get into.
Okay. Now, what do you do with someone like with my build that might be a little bit more giftedly, right? Giftedly challenged, and they want to get into something like this? How do you approach something like? I mean, how do you approach someone like that, like a middle-aged man or woman that's, that's a first timer, right? Because I'm giving you different scenarios, as you can tell, on how would you guys approach that? If someone comes in the gym, they almost want to do it, but now you have a different age, a heavier set person, girl or boy, man or woman, excuse me, and they want to do something like that. How is that approached?
Well, it's all about the interview, right? You talk to you, say,
Yeah.
well, what do you want to do? What's your idea? What do you want to build? Do you have any illnesses, medications? So you have to kind of get a history, right? That's what you taught me.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
I think that's unique. I think that's good because I don't think people realize that sometimes, that how thorough you are on what you do. You know what I mean?
You have to be as a trainer because you're liable for the person's well-being. So you have to assess and see where there is problems, where
Right.
there's strengths, where there's, like you said, inflexibility.
Right.
But I would look at someone and I would look at you and say, clearly we need to take off some pounds.
Sure.
Honestly, because I'm pretty honest with people.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I would guess that by testing, some of the excessive fat would be needing to,
Right.
you need to work on get rid of that. What I would do is probably if you didn't do cardio on your own, and a lot of times my clients, I kind of leave that up to them. I don't really sit there and watch you walk on a treadmill or look, be on a bike for 15, 20 minutes because I want to do other things with you. But I suggest that these are some of the things that you incorporate on your own time.
Right.
A warm-up can be included, but it's not really, you would have to do more than just warming up on a bike or warming up on a treadmill. And then we would start to maybe incorporate a little bit more of a faster pace in the workout once you
Sure.
got a little bit more conditioned, because your conditioning might not be that good in the beginning.
Right.
So I could only push you as far as that would
Right.
be. you
There are
know, for you.
limitations at first.
Exactly.
I just think it's unique, and maybe not to you, but sometimes I've heard horror stories where some of the trainers might not go in depth as far as what you guys, which is normal for you guys, and what you guys normally do. You must hear horror stories, unfortunately, sometimes, and they don't make the typical trainer look good. But here you girls are mentioning all these things that come natural to where you apply yourself when you're training somebody. And sometimes trainers don't. I don't think trainers sometimes they do that. I've heard horror stories before where they go right to they go right to the weights, or they don't worry about stretching. They don't want to see how limbo the person is, and can they do this and can they do that. And I just think it's pretty unique the way you're breaking it down from the time you walk in, from your evaluation, from what you think, from you girls looking at this potential client, or of course he's a client, but him or her, and what you have to do or where you think they need to be. Sometimes you're just like, oh, let's go do this. You don't see that. You don't really hear about it, is what I mean.
And you constantly want to keep in conversation with your client and ask questions, but don't be so abrupt about it.
Right.
Like, so what do you do for exercise? What do you do for fun? What do you just keep in contact with your client. And
That's why my business is good, Dominic.
But you know what I
because
mean? You know what I
I
mean.
do
Yeah.
pay attention to fine detail, and I keep clients. My business has been wonderful for years, and I do pay attention to detail, and you have to. I love what I do, so I think that shows. But yeah, you might go to a trainer, and they might work you so hard that you wouldn't be able to move for 5 days, and you'd say, I don't want to do this again. I feel terrible. You don't want someone to feel terrible. It's not, the progression isn't going to happen overnight, as people know, and you have to be patient, and you have to, like I said, go up the ladder slowly.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to 4 Deep Sports Talk here at the news station, 1320 AM WARA. I am Craig Salvador, joined as always with TJ Albin, Lucy Cabral, Justin Ferreira, Dom Damiano, and we are here today with Bonnie and Joan. They are educating us today about conditioning and really what it takes to be in shape. And right now, though, we're going to turn over to the Sports Master. It's that time of the show where the Sports Master will go off the postseason results for basketball.
Yep. Yes, as he said, that's what I'm doing. Okay, now, the South Sectional Division I girls basketball. Braintree beat Newton South 69 to 58. And now for South Sectional Division II for girls basketball. Foxborough beat Nonset 40 to 23. And for South Sectional Division III girls basketball, Archer Williams beat Fondbone 69 to 45. And for the South Sectional Division IV girls basketball, Coy and Cassidy beat Cathedral 83 to 77. now for the South Sectional Division One boys basketball. Both are highlighted there, so
It's Mansfield.
okay. So Mansfield beat Brockton 79-65. For South Sectional Division Two boys basketball, Tech Boston beat Hingham 69-44. Yep, right there. Yep. South Sectional Division 3 boys basketball, Brook beat Apponequet 70-62. South Sectional Division 4 boys basketball, Mashpee beat Cohasset 73-54. South Sectional Division 1 boys hockey, Marshfield beat Braintree 1-0. South Sectional Division 2 boys hockey, Plymouth South beat Medfield 6-3. And finally, South Section Division 3 boys hockey, Hanover won 6-0.
There you go. Great job, young man. We won't talk about the haircut. You need the haircut, though. And that's the Sportsmaster Justin Ferrer checking in as we round up the winter sports here in southeastern Massachusetts, the South Sectional results. Quick program note, Wednesday, live on Facebook, we will have the Dave Cowens Boys and Girls Ceremony live from Greater Bedford Folk. It will start at 4:45. You can check out the ceremony again. We'll be live at Greater Bedford Folk, 4:45 for the Dave Cowens Boys and Girls Basketball Ceremony. And as we continue on, and you know what's funny? Once we went to a commercial, of course, people won't know that because we're off the air. All the other great questions were coming out of you guys, and you guys just going with the flow. And I'm saying to myself, why didn't I ask that earlier? I hate when I do that. But you know, like we mentioned out there, my intention is not to pick up on any of the trainers, but there are a lot of trainers, and we mentioned this, that are not educated. It is what, I shouldn't say they're not educated. They're certified, they passed the test, but their ethics or the way they go about doing what you guys do for a living may not be the best way to go about it. And it is what it is until they get educated and they realize somebody tells them something, then they'll get trained and they'll have a better understanding what to do right. Like when we're talking about how you guys evaluate, no matter who the client is, then it tells you how you're going to approach. We talked about how applying the Body Metrix was a little bit different. That's more like we're talking more about high school and youth athletes for that. But as far as the general conditioning, I think it's really, a tip to your hat the way you guys take a lot of love and pride in what you do. And it's not just about bringing the clients in my opinion, from what I know of you. It's more of how much determined and how much you love doing what you do and how you guys really dive into it. So I was wondering, what tips can you give some of the people listening? If you want to call in 508-222-1320. We apologize. The simulcast stream is down, but the audio podcast is up on our website. If you can't pick us up, if you're listening now, you already picked us up on the podcast. So, but I want to know if you could do.
Congratulations.
Talk about some of the do's and don'ts that trainers might do. Just things that you guys learned through the years that people should pay attention to. Could you guys elaborate on that for us? Things that come to mind. There must be 1,000 of them. I know we don't have another whole hour to do it, but I thought it'd be.
My thing is these people that train that go in like AFA or NASM, and they just go and they take the test and they think they're a personal trainer because they passed it. And the thing that I did is I actually went to Cape Cod Community College and physically hands-on did the practical and the written. And then I had lovely Bonnie that I've been with since 2007, so I kind of incorporated that. So that's why I think I'm good at what I do. But it's these other people that just think, oh, well, I'm a personal trainer. Well, what have you done? Oh, I passed the test. Well, how long have you been training? How long have you been doing this? Do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody that taught you the correct way or how to handle a client or make that client feel welcome?
Right.
And that's what I've learned from Bonnie. So That's my.
We're gonna
pet
get Bonnie
peeve.
to blush before the hour's over. That's our goal
Oh
today.
yeah.
I know, all these compliments.
Well, she makes my day. I come from a stressful day at work, and
Yeah.
I'll come in with her and like, oh, I'm just in a bad mood.
Right.
After a couple of sets, we're just gabbing, and I totally forgot what I did for the day, and
There you go.
that's a good trainer.
It really is, and I think it applies to any other type of trade. Like I'm fortunate to have these guys training through me with the college, and they'll learn all the curriculum. But until you dive in and you see what's in front of you, and you actually put a mic in your hand and you're doing it, you know, anybody can watch anybody on, you know, any of the news stations say, oh, well, I can do that. But when you apply yourself, nerves kick in, lack of experience, you know, from this side of the fence, but your side of
It's
the
with
fence.
anything.
Called
exactly.
hands-on.
Yep.
Right.
First
It
day
is.
here.
Hands-on.
Hands-on's the best education.
Correct, I agree. Certain things you can't learn from a book.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
I remember my first day here. Like, I thought me and Dom were just gonna kind of like just shoot around, talk about what the semester's gonna be like. It's like, okay, you ready to do the show? I'm like, wait, what? It's like I thought I'm just
What's
here.
my
I thought
name,
I was
right?
just here to talk. He's like, nope, it's just you and me today.
That's how you get kids to swim. You throw them in.
That's
throw them
right.
in the water.
Dive in.
As Don tells me, as I first walk in, yeah, all right, you ready to do the show today?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
ready to go?
Well, that's how they
All right, we got these people coming in.
Got it.
Justin went through the same
We all
thing,
go
right?
through it.
She went through the same thing.
Coming right to the wolves.
Yeah, legit.
But as far as conditioning goes, though, if we can just touch on that again, I would like to know if you guys could educate us on the do's and don'ts that a trainer might do that people should pay attention to, only for the sake of the person, then the trainer. The trainer should already know, but then again, if they're not educated and they like we talked about the hands-on, you know, it's good to get the word out there. Hey, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. And and you guys'
Well, I
personal
think Bonnie
opinion.
should talk about. It's a lot of people think they need to lose weight before they can start doing any type of muscle resistance, and that is a fail. You should be doing it right from the get-go, along with your cardio and along with your stretches. Can you give more detail on that, Bonnie?
Yes, there's many scenarios that have come my way, obviously, in the years, but I would say probably some of the common ones would be like what Joan Marie said, where a heavy person might have been told, don't weight train until you lose the weight. Well,
Why did
again,
you laugh at me when he said heavy set?
what I want to say to people, and a lot of people don't know this even today, is the only way that muscle can be added to the body is by resistance only. Not cardio, people, resistance. So muscle is done by training, some kind of training. Another scenario that happens is I might get I'm not saying just a male, but a female that thinks that they're in really good shape. And
Right.
they tell me, I want to go. Let's get going right now. Well, as I assess them, they're not anywhere where they think that they are. And that can get you injured. And that's where some trainers have injured people because they just go too fast too soon. Another thing that impacts the training is what injuries do you have, or what old surgeries have you had where you might have to be careful and strengthen those areas first before you can actually go ahead and get into a full body workout. Right now I'm rehabbing a lot of shoulders from just old injuries or different things that have happened. We can't go full force until we start to strengthen some of those areas of the body. Backs are big and different things like that. So I think that's where some trainers make a mistake. But they don't have the knowledge. I can do post-surgical rehab for people. So
Okay. I think that's cool. So I know we get a couple minutes before we go to our last break, but if you could touch on it just real fast, and then we'll elaborate hopefully in the second quarter. Then I want to go back to the Body Metrix. I want to touch on that before we get off the air. But do you guys, are you basically like a physical therapist? Is that the same idea as a trainer? Or what's the difference?
I can't call myself a physical trainer or a physical therapist because I'm not schooled as a physical therapist. But ironically, a lot of my clients after surgery, in fact, I have 2 or 3 right now that I'm rehabbing after accidents or surgeries, because physical therapy mainly works on range of motion. They get range of motion back. You also need to work on the strength as well after that happens.
Okay, I was just curious on that because it sounds like almost like the same thing, and me being naive and putting two different crafts together, you're basically doing what a physical therapist does.
One works on just range of motion.
Oh, okay.
And they don't work on the muscular strength after
Okay.
that physical therapy is done.
How are we doing? Good?
45 seconds.
All right, so if you want to call when we get back, 508-222-1320. We are talking any and all type of fitnesses. If you want to, again, call in 508-222-1320. We want to thank you for listening on the podcast. We apologize. The simulcast is down, but this show is going to get re-edited. We have some great pictures of everybody in studio. And it's kind of ironic because when Robert was in with Howie Waldron, it happened almost the same thing. It must be just the way it fell. All right, so again, you can call back 508-222-1320. You are listening to 4 Deep Sports Talk here on the news station, 1320 AM WARA, and online, all one word, 4deepsportstalk.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to 4 Deep Sports Talk here at the news station, 1320 AM WARA. I am Craig Salvador, joined once again, as always, by TJ Albin, Lucy Cabral, Justin Ferrer, and Dom Damiano, joined here again by Joan Marie Tracy and Bonnie Switzer. Did I say that right? Switzer, okay, almost. And again, we are continuing talking about conditioning, getting in shape, things I need to know about, and just everything you need to know about getting in shape.
Well, I just want to get one thing out of the way. I noticed that the sports master was giggling. We talked about overweight people, and he kind of looked over at me. I
He
know
calling you
did,
fluffy?
I was only kidding.
He calling you fluffy over there?
Calling me, yeah, super fluffy.
Hey,
But
I'm
I
fluffy.
gotta have a little. We have to have a little. Always have a little fun. But one thing we didn't do, and we talked about this off air, is your website. Information to get out there about what you do, and how you can be reached. So let's get off on that because I know what's going to happen if I dive into another question. I know we're going to go by it. And I want to do that now rather than later.
Anyone that wants to contact me, I do have a website. It's www.bonnieswitzer.com. And I have a great website to go look at. You can kind of navigate through, and it gives a lot of different programs and different nutritional and workout and training things that I offer, as well as other things that you might be interested in. But definitely go check it out.
Instagram.
I'm on Instagram and Facebook,
Twitter.
Just got on Twitter.
That's right. So what's the physical website address? What's the website address?
It's my name, www.bonnieswitzer.com.
Okay. And then, like you said, you're in.
My email is twinsAreForever@yahoo.com.
Good. Now let's talk about your past as far as the bodybuilding side. 'Cause we really didn't touch on it. You have a question? No. Oh, I was waiting for you to take the mic out of my hand. But just about the whole bodybuilding thing works. I think that's pretty cool, and we didn't really touch on that.
No, we didn't touch on that. That's more my personal. It's I'm an IFBB bodybuilder, and I've been a pro for probably since 2010. But I've been competing since the early '80s, so it's been a big lifestyle of mine. I've enjoyed it, and I again passionate to share my experience with my client base. I do have a team that I compete, I'm a competitive coach, and a great team and great clients, and it's just helped my business tremendously. I still am in competition. I've gone to the Olympia, which is the highest show that you can make it to, and I'm planning on competing again this July. and hoping to get to the Olympia again.
I have to tell you, I really love your hair. My hair used to be that long. I used to sit on my hair, and I'm like, wow.
Oh, thanks. I'm not a hair person.
It's all about
I
the
love
hair, I'm telling you.
I can't do it, but if I could have someone do it every day, that would be great.
I'm gonna say hair's a big conversation today. I got Justin's hair and just big conversation, big topic today. Dude, what's up with your hair? I have to wear a hat all the time now.
Right. You know, he could shave his head and look like Lex Luthor, but I don't
mean,
think he'd
that's,
want to do that.
And get into wrestling.
Yeah.
Right, you get into wrestling.
There's
There
this
you
guy
go.
right here.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. 508-222-1320. Again, this show will be re-edited, so you'll be able to see pictures and the audio and put it all together like we did with Robert's show. We talked about powerlifting. And let me see. So Wednesday, I want to make sure I get this out. We will be over at Greater New Bedford Volk Regional doing the 2018 Dave Cowan's Boys and Girls Basketball Ceremony live on Facebook. So let's talk about the team now. I'm the type of person, like when I pick something up and you mentioned, let's talk about the bodybuilding team. Is that correct?
I have a team of competitors in all categories: bikini, figure, men's physique, men's classic physique, women's physique, and bodybuilding. And I have probably a team of 25 right now.
Wow. So you have time for all those people? That's a lot of time.
Manage to do it on a daily basis with about 30 regular clients that I train on a weekly basis.
Right.
I'm busy.
Yeah, I guess you are. That's crazy. I'm thinking 25 people. She's only one person, right? You know, there's only 24 hours in a day, 7 days. That's a lot of
There's shows all during the summer months and spring months. So my competitors it's on a rotation. They don't all compete at the same time.
Oh, good.
But it's
Okay.
kind of through the spring into the fall. There's multiple shows, all year. And we kind of pick the one that they are targeting to do. So I might have the most maybe 5 to 6 in a show.
Yeah.
Getting ready. Or I might have, just a couple, and they just sort of compete all year long.
Going back to like with your clients, is there like an off? Like I know this is kind of weird. Like with football, baseball, there's always an off season. For powerlifting, is there an off season?
Correct. Powerlifting, bodybuilding, every sport has what's called an off season. In my off season is when I try to make my gains, which they would say, or progress, and we put on a little bit of weight. One thing with my competitors, depending on the category, I don't like some of them to put on too much weight. It really pertains to the muscularity of the category. But yes, there's definitely a difference in your training. You train a little heavier, you eat a little more. And then, of course, when you're going to competition, your dieting is very restricted. And your training changes because your weight is dropping, your body fat's dropping, so you can't train as heavy as you would in an off season with extra weight on. So there's definitely 2 different types of training in my sport.
Well, I didn't know that. I know bowling doesn't have an off season. That's the only one
Yeah,
I know that
there's
has
never
an
an
off season.
for that.
I mean, bowling is the most physically demanding sport, so
Robert and I saw beanbag throwing the other day. He was thinking about maybe that would be a sport for
you
him.
know what I've seen?
That's cornholing. Is that called cornholing?
Yeah, cornhole. You know what I've been watching recently? I don't know why it's just been popping up like everywhere. Is competitive darts. It's like it's kind of weird. I'm like I shouldn't be interested in, but I am because it's just back and forth, just nonstop. It's so fast paced. I'm like this shouldn't be interesting,
Right.
but this is. And like I saw one. It's like a guy they cleared the board on like 9 darts, which I guess that's like it's what. I don't know. It's something like really impressive, and I'm just like watching this. I'm like, wow, like why am I into this? Like,
Right. Well, it just caught your attention. It is a skill to throw it. It is
Yeah.
a skill.
No, it's hard. I have a dartboard at my house. I'm terrible. Like,
You know,
it's difficult.
I was in a dart league once. That guy still hasn't got out of the hospital, so I'm all done throwing darts.
I can only imagine the crowds. Ooh,
Yeah.
did you see that?
They get crazy, actually.
Did you see that? He was so
When
close.
they clear the board, they get crazy. It's actually really interesting. I was
It really is.
Shots every time they hit the bullseye.
So how we doing for time?
We're at 55.
55, 12:55? All right, real fast, let's touch on Body Metrix, if you could, within a couple minutes, and tell us why is it good for high school and youth athletes. Just so we can recap on it.
Yeah, Body Metrix, again, is a great test for body composition for an athlete, especially getting into maybe a Division I, Division II college, it shows the coach what their condition of their body is, muscle mass, hydration, any kind of excessive fat or healthy fat they have, and any risks of any kind of, because there is some kids that I've seen that are dropping on the field, young kids that are getting heart attacks. This test is great for monitoring what is going on inside.
And your contact information and website again.
Again, it's www.bonnieswitzer.com.
Great. Let me make sure I go around the table right. For TJ Albin, Craig Salvador, Justin Ferreira, Lucy Cabral, I'm Dominic Damiano. We hope you enjoyed this hour of 4 Deep Sports Talk. We will catch you next time. Everyone have a fantastic weekend. We're not going to sign off. We're going to talk about the metabolism plan. Can you touch on that real fast?
Well, Bonnie has a metabolism, 28-day plan, and she actually can do this virtually with any client.
Yep.
And she will build a food plan for a particular person. So the one she built for me will not necessarily be the same one she would build for you. And it has worked, and she has, if you go on her website, you'll see before and after, but right now, a lot of people are getting ready for weddings and stuff, and this would be perfect opportunity to, utilize her 28-day metabolism, plus, get some weight resistance and cardio in there and look real good for your wedding day.
There you go. Girls, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dominic.
All right, I'm going to try it again one more time. For Craig Salvador, TJ Albin, Justin Ferreira, Lucy Cabral, I'm Dominic Damiano. We hope you enjoyed this hour of 4 Deep Sports Talk. We will catch you next time. Everyone have a fantastic weekend.